Good morning, everyone. My name is Robert Emery. I'm a founding board member of the Coalition for Aging, and I'm the vice chairman of the board of directors. I'd like to welcome you to our second annual summit. Our topic is housing, and it's brought to you by our sponsors, the Gay and Lesbian Alliance of North Texas and Golden Heart Senior Care. This summit showcases cutting-edge practices, programs, policy initiatives, and research designed to better address the unmet needs of GLBT older adults. GLBT elders still remain largely invisible in aging services, policy, and research, despite rapid growth in our population size. The language and terminology of GLBT aging has evolved, and there is a resilience in this population from surviving lifelong prejudice and discrimination. Yet, much remains to be done to support optimal aging, health, and well-being of GLBT midlife and older adults. The goal of this breakout session is to further explore the needs of the aging GLBT population in North Texas and to continue to develop a plan of action to better address those needs. As the senior GLBT population grows, we feel great urgency to make sure each person can live their life with dignity, respect, and without fear of discrimination. To help us with these issues and to answer your questions, we have assembled a panel of experts. They are Carolyn Roney, most recently from Legend Senior Living, where she worked as the Assistant Director of Rosewood Assisted Living and Memory Care. Prior, she was the Vice President of Human Resources at Staff One. Carolyn is an Extra Mile Award winner and also served on the Black Tie Dinner Board of Directors. Carolyn is our newest Coalition for Aging board member and a member of this summit's organizing committee. Kimberly Truax is the founder of and administrator of Kind Companions, a lesbian-owned and operated home care agency for seniors. She has served on the boards of White Rock Community Church and Harvest Metropolitan Community Church. Kimberly has recently begun the process to build 4 residential living care homes in Denton. Kim is a member of this summit's organizing committee. Next to her is another Kimberly. Kimberly Party is a community relations advisor for A Place for Mom. She is on the board of retired senior volunteer programs in Denton County and sits on the Patient Experience Committee at the Medical Center in Louisville. She has 25 years of experience in the senior industry to include home health, hospice, and skilled nursing. And at the end of the table is Barbara R. Glass, a community relations liaison for Presbyterian Communities and Services, Presbyterian Village, North. Barbara is a certified aging services professional and a certified assisted living manager who currently serves on the board of directors for EduCare. As an ally member of the Bridge Building Network and the Community Council of Greater Dallas. Barbara also serves on the board of the Dallas Area Parkinson's Society, which offers free exercise classes around the Metroplex. For our panelists' full biographies, please refer to your beautiful handbook. There are index cards in front of you. Should you have any questions, please write them down and raise your hand in the direction of these 2 beautiful pink shirts. And they will bring them to me. Or later in Q&A, I will bring a microphone to you and you may ask the question that way. Kimberly Party. Hi, welcome. Kimberly Party, what do you see as the greatest challenge for GLBT seniors in regard to housing?
Hi, everyone. The biggest challenge I see is that we aren't informed, either by the family or by the person themselves looking for housing. The biggest challenge we have anywhere or anytime is finding the appropriate place as far as income, location that they're looking for, and the level of care. So we have properties that we work with at A Place for Mom that are very open, but we just need to know or at least be educated on that information so that we can help place them in the proper place.
And Carolyn Roney, same question to you. What is the greatest challenge for GLBT seniors in regard to housing?
What I've noticed where I work in actually an assisted living community and 5 other buildings is the challenge is not necessarily that we're living in these communities. It's that we don't have programming that we feel comfortable with within the community. So in most of our communities, we have gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender people living in the communities, and for the most part, they're very welcome there. And there is no real fear about that. But there's nothing for them to do that they feel safe with within their own community. So I am very passionate about the programming within the community and making a difference there.
And Kimberly Truax, would you address that same question?
Yes, I'm going to second everything Carolyn said, because, like she said, there are many of the communities that are out there are very welcoming, but that's about as far as it goes. And so many of our GLBT folks are going into the community and then going into the closet because there's nothing for them, and their home needs to be safe. I mean, if you're going to live there, you want it to be your home, and you want your home to be safe, and you want to feel comfortable being who you are and have things to do that you would normally do. And so we're all in agreement pretty much on offering the programming and putting something on the calendar like a rainbow flag or conversations with Dorothy or there, you know, there's that on the cruise ships, like I say. I mean, to me, assisted living and independent living is like a big cruise ship. I mean, so, or it should be. So if you know, activities and things like that can be offered, and like we discussed before, it doesn't have to be a gay activity. It's just got to be something that maybe, you know, there's a talk about a GLBT topic, or there is a movie that is, you know, friendly and fun for the gay community that we like to watch, and but that all are welcome. And we don't want to be just the gay person in the community, and a lot of people don't want to live in just a gay community. We want it to be, you know, copacetic. We want us to all get along and function the way, you know, way it should be. Yeah, our neighborhood is. And so, you know, and the thing with, if you just have a GLBT community, well, then you're kind of isolating again from the world, and you have this little safe place. And I know in our Texas, in our state of Texas, we have not been very successful in having just a GLBT community. There's a couple people that have tried having those, but they can't fill them up. They can't fill them up. And a lot of that, of course, has to do with affordability.
Well, actually, we're going to come full circle to that question of affordability after we get through letting everyone talk about the major challenge. We're big into affordability. Barbara Glass, would you address what you see as the biggest challenge for GLBT seniors in housing?
There are really two that I see. The first one is there's just not enough of it out there. And I mean, there's when you hear of waiting lists of 5 years and they won't even take your name because the waiting list is so long, or the waiting list is 2 years or whatever, it's that's a clue that maybe there's not enough affordable housing. Now, when I refer to affordable housing, I'm talking about independent living that is perhaps tax advantaged, and that is affordable for you know, somebody on Social Security. I mean, there was, for the population that's going into these communities now, or wants to, or is having a problem living on their own, there was kind of an implicit promise back in the 60s, 50s, and so forth that Social Security was going to be enough, and that Medicare was going to pay for your medical problems, and you would be fine until you passed on. But now it's just not the case. And so this is a topic that needs to be reinforced to the municipalities and to the affinity groups in the community that something needs to be done, because there's way more demand coming. I mean, it's on the horizon, and if you don't address the problem, then these folks are going to be sitting in Parkland's lobby, and they're going to be out in front of the Dallas Public Library, and what are you going to do with them? There's not going to be enough people in the stew pot that will be able to service them. So I see that as an enormous problem, and also I think that there is still, a vast amount of people who really don't understand the LGBT and all its permutations. They do not get it, and they consequently it's kind of like hearing when somebody died or somebody got a divorce. They don't know what to say, so they say nothing, and that's what's happened out in our community. And so what we need to do is to educate and to commingle more, and that's what we work toward with Educare. That's very important to us, that we work on the education, and that's not just formal education, it is also conversation and commingling. So
education is very important. I have a lot of experience personally entering into many, many assisted living facilities with the secret shopper kind of attitude that I'm looking for my gay uncle, I'm shopping for my gay uncle, or I'm shopping for my lesbian mother. And every time, every single time, 100% welcoming, absolute support, arms around you. Yes, your mother's welcome here. Yes, your uncle will be happy here. But the follow-up question is, what programming do you have for them? And again, 100%, nothing. So my mother would go in there and be invisible. So let's examine that. Carolyn, what would you like to see in terms of programming and education?
Well, the first thing that I'm extremely passionate about, as we've already talked about a little bit, is the education part. I believe that we need to go in and educate the staffs in each one of these communities so that they understand the unique needs that are out there. But the second thing on the programming is I really feel like we need to have somewhere, Robert talked in the last session, every community has a newsletter, and they put out what's going to happen for the month. This is going to happen, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. Somewhere in that newsletter, maybe we have a little rainbow flag. I think Kimberly talked about a rainbow flag. That this is an activity or programming that is specific for the LGBT community, but it's not exclusive. We want everybody to know that it's there so that we feel like there's something that we're going to do in that community that might be of interest to us. In all the newsletters, they have a little thing for each religion that might be there. Some of them even have diversity little badges in their newsletters that say this is tailored towards the Hispanic community. There's nothing that says that this is welcoming to us. So what I'm looking for in programming is first educating that there's a need and why there's a need, and secondly to identify it and be able to deliver it within the communities.
Sometimes it's as simple as clip art on a calendar, because the ladies' Christian luncheon has a little crucifix, and the Jewish ladies' luncheon has a little Star of David, and the men's woodworking session has a little hammer and saw crossboard. It's simple clip art, but somewhere there needs to be a little rainbow. And again, if it's a movie of Priscilla, or even if just your gay resident has been in charge of that movie that month, just somewhere, we'll start with clip art. We'll move from there, okay? We'll start with that. So, Ms. Truax, would you tell us about your primary goal in programming and education?
Yes. First I want to say, and I'm sure everybody understands this, is that a lot of the responsibility lies with us and about being straightforward, forgive for saying that, but with who we are, I had mentioned that maybe the communities on their questionnaire and the paperwork that people fill out, when we go in there, that's on the checklist. That's on there. Are you married, single, widowed, whatever? Or if you have a spouse and their name, that sometimes people can figure that out. But how do you identify that's part of the needs? Because that's part of the assessment. When we bring people into our communities, we do an assessment, and the goal is to find out everything we possibly can for them, about them. But the thing is that so many of us are not forthcoming. We are not telling them who we are and what we need. And I think we have to take part of that responsibility, because they can't offer it to us if they don't, know what our needs are. So with that said, I think we need to have, again, some more affordable housing. We need more. It makes me very nervous because, what's out there right now is so little. And, unless you have, long-term care insurance, I mean, not everybody can afford that, but I highly recommend it if you can do it. But not everybody can do it. And so I know there's some HUD programs and that there are conversations happening. But, Medicaid is, you can't have anything to get Medicaid. And then if you have Medicaid and you want to go into one of these places, I mean, you're on a long waiting list for that, and they only have a handful of beds in these communities that offer it. So there's much to do about that. But I would love to see more people in these communities, the administrators and the staff and the team that are working there, have the sensitivity training, put the things on the calendar, make it a safe place that we can call home.
Excellent. And Barbara, I'm reminded that 40 years plus later, we're still hearing the voice of Harvey Milk in our head reminding us to come out. Come out. Come out.
That's right. I was going to say to follow up on the Medicaid beds are largely in the skilled nursing communities. And you talk about, they're not flags. There's just not much going on at all. You might have bingo, you might have somebody singing, but when it's a Medicaid situation, it goes way beyond even thinking about activities. That's more in the independent and the assisted living area. I think what I would like to get to is to have us be kinder and gentler people. And I learned this from a very dear friend, and who sets an excellent example. This is my friend Sharon, and that I would like to see the time, where the activities, where the flag is just on the front desk. All right, and it might be in the newsletter somewhere as clip art, but where the movie, the bingo, the day trips out for lunch, where the bridge games, the chicken foot, the dominoes, where it doesn't have to be labeled gay friendly, where anybody can go and we're all kind of in it together. And that's really what I would like to see, that doesn't have to be labeled. Because it really ultimately doesn't matter. When you've got a fourth for bridge, you don't really care, except they can bid correctly. And I think too, with the education, with the educational part, I think it's important to recognize that when you are doing the assessment, people are not going to be forthcoming. Just like with A Place for Mom, they're not going to say everything that they probably need to say. They're going to be, especially the generation that's moving that's failing now. They've been in the closet for a lot of years, and they're just not going to say everything. So I think what I would like to see with our education is that we educate the caregivers and the staff and to handle surprises. There will be, and really? Well, okay. I mean, you just kind of have to be able to handle them when they come up and not be, just handle them in a kinder, gentler fashion and understanding and being sensitive to those differences.
We had an audience member in our last session. I believe it had to have been a non-gay ally who I think must be somewhat new to this subject, because when we opened the floor to Q&A, her question was, well, in terms of gay activities and the rainbow being on the calendar, what would one of those activities be? And it was a nice moment of levity, because we said nothing. There's nothing different. There's nothing different. But just give us, just not invisible. Not invisible is our goal.
Right.
Not invisible. And this
Right.
also brings me to the subject that after the Coalition for Aging gets past this fantastic summit, we're going to dive deep into this equality index. Just like the Human Rights Campaign has a equality index for corporations, and they ask them 100 questions about hiring and policy, etc. We're going to ask every home health care and facility and social organization very similar to the same questions. Then we're going to publish it on our website. Then when you go out shopping, you can come visit us first, and we'll be ranked. And it'll not by cost or expense or location, but by how ready they are for us. And the good news is that places such as Presbyterian Village North and Edgemere and let me just say, everyone we have talked to said, please come to our facility and use our conference room and let us help you, because we want to score 100 the first time it goes out. And was never our goal to send out a pop quiz that anyone would be shocked at, right? Everyone is welcome, and the idea is for everyone to score 100. And does anyone have a question about that programming issue before we go on? Yes, Rich.
Okay. In the comments, you had mentioned that most of the facilities are very welcoming, but then you said that there was no safe programming for gay residents and that many gay people went back in the closet. So my question is, are these places really welcoming, or are they just saying that they're welcoming?
I'd like to say maybe the more appropriate word is that they're accepting right now. They're accepting. They don't know right now that they're supposed to be doing this. Yeah, most of them. Sorry. Yeah, most of them don't. But more and more are. And like you said, yes, they throw their doors open wide for us, and I'm so happy you're here, but what do you have for me? Oh, well, we haven't thought of that yet. So that's what this coalition is all about, is to help to educate these businesses and home health and hospice and assisted livings and independent livings. The coalition, that's what we're together for, is to go out and educate these people to be sensitive to our needs. I mean, about 5 years ago, they started, we'd go to CEUs for diversity training for our agencies and our buildings. And, whether it was for GLBT or whether it was for different cultures or different nationalities or, so they've done that. But now we need to take it a step further, because, what do you do if you have an assisted living or skilled nursing situation and you and your spouse want to have the same apartment, or you want to be in the same room together, or you want to, share your bed together? I mean, those are things that, it's even harder for heterosexual people in those situations where I've seen husbands and wives split up. I mean, and it's horrible, but they're doing it because, that's the way they've always done it, and because one spouse may, be more ill than the other. And so, we're all about trying to work outside of the box and figure out a way to make everything work. I know in my business, that's what I do. It's like, okay, what is the need? How can we make it work? Okay, the regulation says this. All right, well, we can do it this way. And I think everybody has to work that way. And there's no black and white anymore. I mean, it's all gray, and everybody's situation is different. I mean, my situation is going to be completely different than your situation. And just because we're both gay doesn't mean it's the same. So,
yeah, that speaks to the idea that people in this business are generally very compassionate and passionate. It's too exhausting a business to be in unless you have that passion. So the passion is there to welcome them, everyone. Their heart is open. Everyone in the industry has that. Most people you meet in the industry are very open-hearted. They just don't know yet. And that's what we're all doing here this morning, is getting together so we can make that tide.
Behavior behind the words.
Okay, I think I might have heard a mistake earlier about somebody said hiding. I live in Oak Lawn. I live in an apartment building that's 80% gay and lesbian. 50% of us are over 60. We feel safe. All across this community, SAGE is creating housing. In California, you have nursing homes for gay and lesbian people that are filled. So when it's done right, there's an interest, and I need to be safe. Now, as far as suggestions, I've seen the bus rides and trips they go to. There's two things very close by you could do in Dallas. There's the new resource center, and there's the Cathedral of Hope that has some beautiful art. You could go there. There's a gay gardening group that can be glad to come to your facility and teach gardening on raised gardening. There are gay choruses and gay bands and gay ministers. Oftentimes, one of the pastors from North Haven Methodist or from Royal Lane Baptist, which are in North Dallas, would be glad to come and do something special about that. So those are actual suggestions you could do, and turn to the community to ask for ideas instead of struggling to find the right icon. Pick up the phone and call us, and we'll be glad to tell you what we could do, and we would be glad to do it.
And I just want to say I really appreciate that passion that I hear in your voice, because we are looking and engaging in the community. It's not that the community here doesn't have a lack of things to offer. It's that the communities, or the assisted living communities, the independent living communities, don't know about those. So what I want to do, and my passion about that, is get out and educate, to be the person that goes in and says just what you're saying. We have all these available services around our North Texas area. We need to get our people out to them so that they can feel like that they're included in the community. So absolutely, that is what we want to do, is collaborate and team up with all of the organizations within the community to make this happen.
And on the subject of passion, I know that these four professionals are extremely passionate about what they do. Barbara, would you share with us your greatest passion in regard to GLBT housing?
Oh, man, that goes on and on. I would like to see more housing available. And this is not exclusively GLBT. It would be for all seniors, okay, for independent housing that would be more in the affordable model. And I think the reason why it's not being built is because there's no money in it for the developers to do it. So that when the market forces don't work, that's when the municipalities have to step in. And maybe the federal government, but at least the state of Texas and the city of Dallas. And to find some land, find some property, or find a place that perhaps isn't producing enough tax revenue, and to design a community, do the zoning, make it kind of turnkey for a developer to take it on, make a little bit of money, and make it worth their while to allocate their resources to get this done. And if you do that, then you can do this. Then you can do this big development that you want to do, where they can make a small fortune. So that's what I would like to see, is to encourage the market, encourage the people in the market to do the work for you, and to provide a nice community or an idea, maybe several communities, maybe something that would be copied in Collin County, Denton County, and to provide places. We can't handle these waiting lists that are 2 to 5 years long, and until they're there, then you're going to have a lot more isolation of seniors because maybe they don't have a social network, and you want them to, when they begin to get weaker, to have places to go so that they can identify and you know who they are, and they're getting food and they're getting resources and so forth, because it's really easy to lose track of them. Even Meals on Wheels doesn't know they're there. Even the city of Dallas. I mean, I heard about one guy who was a hoarder, and he died. Well, he'd put cement in the pipes years before, his water pipes. He thought that he had mental problems and so forth. And I said, well, how did the city of Dallas not know he was there? He hadn't paid his water bill in 20 years. And I'm going, who didn't know this man was there? And so by providing safe spaces, maybe they'll come out of the shadows, and the community has to help do the rest.
I appreciate your focus on affordability, Barbara. Kimberly Party, tell me about your passion for GLPT housing.
Well, my passion also, again, is the affordable housing. Even though I work for A Place for Mom, I've been in the industry for so long that I do have resources outside of A Place for Mom that have properties that are affordable. Yes, like you said, they're pretty full right now. However, there's a company out there called Evergreen that has several different properties, and they're building more. And yes, they have waiting lists, but you know what? I've seen waiting lists go within 2 weeks. They have a 2-year waiting list, and within 2 weeks they go through that list because people move on, or they become skilled nursing appropriate, or whatever. So I encourage people to go ahead and get on those lists as soon as they can, because they do have a network of properties. So if one doesn't have an opening, they'll say, hey, by the way, I know you live in the Colony, you might want to go to Plano, or you might want to go down to Dallas. They keep moving people around. And I have realtors that I work with also that have apartment complexes that they work with as well, and they help as far as the housing also. So we have you've got a panel here that has tons of resources. So even though we represent our own businesses, our own companies, or work for different companies, we still have a network of people out there that can find all kinds of resources for you. VA and attendance, low-income housing, all those programs. So did that answer your question, I hope?
Yes, it did. All of your panelists are listed in this fantastic workbook, and it's meant for you to take home for a constant resource. Kimberly Truax, tell me about your passion. I know you have it.
I am very passionate about serving seniors in general. I've been in senior living for 26 years and used to run assisted livings and independent livings, and I started Kind Companions 15 years ago, which is a home care agency, because I saw a real need to make a difference. I saw agencies that these seniors were inviting to their home to provide care for them, caregivers in their home, and I was appalled at the quality of the caregiver that was showing up, and what these people thought that they were hiring and getting and what they were actually getting were two totally different things. And so it really broke my heart that the expectation for this kind of care was so low. And so I thought, if I could raise the standards, if I made an agency that had high standards and provided the best care and service, because that is what we all deserve, then at least that would force my competitors to do the same, for them to stay competitive, and that would raise the bar for care all across the board. And so, and in the same vein, I am now beginning the process to build 4 residential care homes for that same reason. Is that here lately, everybody that's that can is buying a house and housing people in it because they think they can make money, but they don't. Not everybody knows what they're doing. They think they can give them a bed and a TV and some meals, and that's it. And that's That's not it. And sadly, the seniors are suffering from that, and because of that. So it's really important that those of us that do know this business and do know how to make a difference and are passionate about making a difference in the lives of seniors, and especially our GLBT community that we belong to, that we do that education, and that we educate our competitors too, so that we're raising the bar, so that we provide the services, and then our competitors by default are going to also provide those services to stay competitive.
Carolyn, can you share your passion in 30 seconds?
I'm going to share it real quickly because you've heard me talk about it from the get-go. Is my passion is all about setting the foundation, and I believe that the foundation is education. If we can't get out there and teach people what programs are available, what are our specific needs, what do we need to do, what's important to us in our environment, then we're not going to succeed, in my opinion. So my passion is about education, getting those caregivers to understand what is needed from a healthcare perspective, getting the CEOs of these major companies to understand that they need to reach out and embrace us, and not put just their talk, as Robert said, but to bring in the behaviors. What are we doing? If we say we're embracing you, what are you doing to embrace us? Let's educate them, let's get it out there, and let's make sure that they know that we're here and that we're relevant.
That's right, and we're all in this together. We are resilient, we are creative, we must rally together, moving ever forward with our allies to build a safe and loving world where GLBT seniors may live with dignity and without fear of discrimination. Let's keep working together. Thank you.
Thank you.
We had one question, even though, by the way, you're staying right here in this room. We have one question from the floor, and you can answer it privately because I know who asked the question. The question is for a place for Mom. The question is, how about a place for Dad? So we'll get you with, I think I know who that came from. You've got great sense of humor. So stay right here in this room, and we're going to have a great closing speech by Mike McKay. Thank you.